What is going on, fellow YouTubians? Beachy out here, and I'm actually here to give you a really cool update. Number one on the Mk4 Outlander. Yes, the Outlander, and that's what we're going to be working on or talking about today. The Outlander is pretty much Beachy Al's garage first attempt on building a fun, number one, fun, super cheap, affordable, and easy to build with your friends off-road vehicle. Now, what you see right here to the left of me is, or the right, whatever way it shows up on there. I was about to go to bed. That's right, Tiny. You're not going to bed, buddy. But this is the list that you see that's going to help you build the Mk4 Outlander. Your own personal Outlander. Now, the list is right here. Comes with part numbers and everything that you need to know about what you need to do your very own lifted Mark IV. Now, this will lift your Mark IV 2 to almost 2.5 inches, okay? If you guys want to go higher than that, I have another set of parts that you guys can use that are very, very affordable and won't cost you an arm and a leg. Like, don't get me wrong, I respect the company and all, but Lifted VWs has a kit for like $800, which honestly is obscured in price, but you gotta do what you gotta do, and I did my research and I was able to do it for almost half the cost if you know how to shop. That is the catch. So we are using KYB front and rear shocks. As you can see, the part numbers on the list. We're using brand new strut bushings, number one. Brand new strut bearings, number two. We reused the spring, actual spring mount for the Mark IV. Simple. So all that, by the time I was done, again, didn't cost me very much to do, and was fun. A lot of fun to build with my buddies. Them coming over and hanging out with us and doing it together. So what you see on the, like I said, again on the left, yeah, it's on the left, yeah, the left, is the list. And the list right here, I got everything from AutoZone. Now, the two things that I had to work with my commercial specialist from AutoZone, God bless Ray, commercial specialist here in Escondido AutoZone. This dude knows how to take care of you. I love the guy. I give him a headache, but I buy a lot from him because, number one, he gives me the good deals. Number two, he knows where to get the good deals. Not all AutoZones are the same, okay? Especially when it comes to your commercial accounts. So a lot of them are just going to sell you what they carry, and that's it. Not Ray. Ray's one of those guys that's willing to go above and beyond and get me the stuff that I want at the price that I want. So I got the front. You guys can see handwritten down there. For the front springs, we use the Jeep Grand Cherokee. You gotta remember that Grand Cherokee, the year 2000 front springs. Now you gotta be careful with that because that's a very, very important small little detail. When you order these springs or buy these springs, they come in multiple different flavors. A lot of them will have like a 1-inch, 2-inch, 3-inch lift. For Jeeps, you got to be careful. We want to get the one that has no lift, just factory height. That's it. Anything higher than that, you won't be able to mount that on the Mk4 strut at all. That will not fit in your car. I tried. We actually had to cut one whole spring or one whole coil off to make that spring actually compress far enough for us to use it on the Mark IV Outlander. I thought I was going to be able to compress that thing, but I could not. I could not compress it, even with the spring compressor, and it did not work at all. So that kind of sucked. But at the end, we did one, like I said, one little coil cut, fit perfect with a lot of tension still. I mean, I compressed that coil almost all the way down to where we're almost touching. So that thing is definitely compressed in there in a stock Mark IV. Now, doing a little bit more research, found out that you can use, if you want to go higher higher than what we have it lifted at, we definitely recommend using Mk4 strut towers. The strut cap where it holds the spring. You can use those in place of get rid of the Mark IV ones and use those in place, and it will give you about a 1/4 inch, almost another 1/2 inch lift. Now you're like, I need more than that. Don't worry, there's one other extra method to give you a 1 full extra inch of lift. Online, just Google Mk4 lift for the front lift. There's actually a spacer you can buy that sits on the top of that strut spring or strut tower. It's a spacer you can put on there, and they give you the proper extended bolts, and that will legitimately lift you 1 extra full inch from on top of that. So doing your research, if you do it right, it almost gives you 3.5 to 4 inch lift on the car, which is insane for a Mark IV from stock height. I mean, I did not think you can go that much higher, but you can. And on the rear, if you're not satisfied with the height, obviously, you can go online and search for Mk4 spring lift, and it's a little spacer that sits underneath the spring that'll give you another full inch of lift from stock height. But you can use that in conjunction, if you see on top the springs on there, for a 2008 Jeep Wrangler. Now remember, those are the front springs. We're only ordering front springs from those two cars. Again, stock OEM height. Remember that. That's a very, very valid and difficult thing to remember. If you don't mess around, they have to be front springs, because if you order the rear ones, they're too big and they're going to be too long. They're not going to work correctly. So on those springs, you're going to, like I said, you're going to order those, get them in, and those fit perfect. You don't need to do anything to make those fit. However, that being said, there is a little piece of metal about 1 inch long you need to cut, because when the spring actually closes in, when you bolt everything up on the rear end, that spring actually hits the back beam and hits the metal, and it's going to rub. So easy fix. Just cut a little inch out, stops the problem instantly. Roman took care of that, and we found it quickly. I mean, it was an easy fix. We have a DIY for all of that, guys, so stay tuned for a lot more. The Mark IV is definitely getting its new tires this week, and then we're doing the fender flares on it, so you're going to see that, and we're going to see if we can get some spacers to space out the wheels a bit more to get that thing looking beefy as fuck. Alright, so those are the two most important things to lift your Mark IV, just so you guys know. Because what matters the most is getting an actual lift, and that's using the springs. The springs is what really, really makes your car go up. But the front springs, or the front strut tower, is extremely limited based off of its actual original design. You can't make it go any taller because of its design. So what people do is put spacers on the very top to extend that height, and that solves a big problem, and gives you the lift that you need. If you use Lifted VW's spacer kit, what that does is that you compress the spring, okay, and then before you even compress the spring, you put the spacer and then the bearing and then your nut, and that's what technically is giving you the lift. But you're compressing the spring, so it makes no sense to me how that's going to lift you over time, because the more and more you use the car and drive the car, that compression is going to compress that spring even more and give it more use quicker, so your lift is actually going to be worse over time. What's up, 3 Bowman? Hell yeah, we back. What's up? So I think that's kind of a big issue for me personally. I found out better ways to do it, and I'm gonna do it that way with the Mk4. That's gonna be the next process after we mess around with this current setup. We're not gonna spend any more money on lifting it until we're done with tires and aesthetics and doing the custom skid plates and doing a bunch of other stuff that we're gonna need to do with this Mark IV. So it's super vital that we do it that way. Now, what's really cool, I don't know if you guys have been watching, but we bought the Mark IV for $650 We sold the glove box and rear carpet for $50. So we ended up buying the car for $600. Yay! And then after all the suspension work and everything, and plus once we add all the tires and we do all the other exterior modifications, that will put us at $2,100 for this complete entire build from scratch. I mean, it's insanely cheap. And what's going to be super cool, we're going to off-road the crap out of it, and we're going to film it, and we're going to bring you guys along for the ride. We're going to try to do as much live as we can. If not, we're going to videotape it and show you guys how this car performs. I have a good friend that's going to get his drone, and he's going to follow us out in the middle of nowhere and film us outside doing some fun stuff with the Jetta. Ian, my one of the other team members, Ian, fixed the vacuum system on the car. So now the car actually builds boosts and works. It actually will accelerate above 30 miles an hour. So thank you, Ian, Roman, for fixing the metal and all that. My cousin, Jacob. Yes, I actually have family members, believe it or not. I very rarely talk or even deal with any of my family members. But my buddy, my cousin, Jacob, came over and he joined the team, which is super cool. So we have a new member of the team, and Jacob, and he doesn't know anything about like repairing cars or taking care of cars, so he was willing to learn. What's going on? So he's willing to learn, and so I came over and we started wrenching. I taught him how to do brakes, and it was a cool experience because he didn't know what he was doing, and I showed him how to remove a full rear disc brake assembly, repair it and reinstall everything, bleed the brakes, make sure everything works, and he was digging it. I'm glad that he definitely enjoyed it, and now he wants more. He wants to come over more often. He lives about 45-50 minutes away, but he's willing to make that trip, hang out, and work on cars, which is awesome. All right, so hey, Pinche out. Thanks to your response and email about suspension and work on my Mk4. No, you're no problem, Redondo. 3 Bowman, I fixed my flywheel. Thank God your video helped me so much. That's not a problem, man. I still need to do the maintenance of waiting for more parts and a socket. Awesome. Awesome, guys. Get to work, because wrenching is what we do, and wrenching is what we live by. On top of me doing a bunch of other stuff, working for the squad over here, you know. So, but yeah, awesome, guys. I'm very, very glad that my videos were able to help you. And I'm super, super happy that that you guys are actually doing it on your own and not just randomly paying someone to do your work for you. Don't get me wrong. There's some people that, you know, even though they watch videos and they try, they still can't fix their own car. And that's okay. That's okay. But the awesome thing about my YouTube channel is so you know what's going on. Because I don't want you to get ripped or get ripped off by, some random mechanic shop. I would prefer you guys at least going in there and be like, look, I need this and this and this. That's it, and don't get gypped. Simple. But yeah, you gotta keep in mind that these mechanics, do have a living to make. So please respect their opinion as well, because that's how that works, you got to make a living somehow. And I make a living by doing everything and anything. Believe me, I work a lot, and I love it. I love it. I love staying busy. I love spending time with my family. I love hanging out with you guys. So, let's see. Redondo, hey, I'm also thinking about buying a 2014 RS5 V8. What's your opinion on that car? Yeah, exactly, Tiny. I don't care for Audis. I just don't care for them. They're overpriced. And they require a lot of maintenance, and they're not cheap to own. No. I wish I can give you an opinion. This is definitely not the channel for expensive cars. This is more for you to be cheap and and just doing your own stuff. But I wish I could give you an opinion on that, man. I don't have one. Personally, I would never buy one. I mean, I'd probably touch one. Ooh, that's a cool car, but I would not. I will not buy it. You know, what's funny? My dream car, is like a 1950s, early 1960s Volkswagen Bug, slammed, big motor, turboed, all black with white stitching interior. That's it. Basic. Well, besides the turbo portion, but yeah, that's me, man. You know, and I'd be cruising in that every day. Yeah, no, definitely, Tiny. Um, Hit me up later because I can order you the zero gauge wire, and I can definitely give you a good hookup on that. 3 Bowman. What about a B5 Audi with the 1.8T? Will you still buy? Maybe. I mean, it is a 1.8T, you know, but it's still an Audi at the end of the day. It's a very, very heavy car. I mean, it's cheap. I mean, I give you that, but it's not a car that I desire. I mean, they're good cars, but I mean, it's not a car that I care for. I mean, the big issue with an Audi, especially like a 1.8T Audi, if it's an automatic, don't even bother. Don't even look at it. If it's a manual, if you can find it in a manual with Quattro and 6-speed 1.8T, buy it. That's my only advice to you. If it's front wheel drive and a 1.8T, go freaking buy a Jetta. Save yourself the headache. You know, it's just, yeah, it just depends. Tiny wants a 2008 Land Rover. Dang, fancy. What's going on, banging? What's up, fool? Redondo, yeah, they're expensive. The RS5 depreciated roughly 40,000 in 5 years. Now sells for about 30K. Yeah, I mean, because it's a difficult car to own. Just put a VR in it, you'll be fine. Fucking Tiny. Just put a VR in it, it'll be fine. That's what everybody says. Just put a VR in it. Just like George from Malacca Motorsports. Just put a VR and turbo it. My respects for you guys, but man, that's not cheap to do. But there's 2 reasons for this live stream. Obviously, for the part list, because I've been getting a lot of people asking for this part list, and to talk with you guys. I love talking with you guys late night. Same as normal. Dude, do you not know what a charger is, banging? Seriously. Let me get my phone right now. Hold on. Let me grab my phone. I'm at 42%, bro. 42%. Ridiculous. I don't understand how you do this. But again, I'm here to answer your questions. If you guys have questions about the Mk4 Outlander and how we lifted it, why are we lifting it, ask. Please ask, because I want your guys' opinion, and I want to give you guys some help if you guys have any questions. Okay, you watched the game. I don't care for sports. I have no idea who was playing until I left home. Left work. Tiny, how close are we close to the contest? Not very close, honestly. We are about 800 entries, but if you subtract the, we have to subtract the, Instagram entries. So paid for entries, we're almost at 400, which means we need 800 more entries to finish it. Okay, paid for entries. For free entries, again, if you guys follow my Instagram, Pinche Al's giveaways, everyone who follows it gets a free entry. Pretty straightforward. But if you buy anything from my online store, you get more entries. Straightforward to the point. The more and more often we keep this going, the more items actually been adding to the contest. We are over $3,000 for first place, just so you guys know, in prizes. I watched the DIY transmission oil change for the RS5 automatic. It's like performing. Yep, pretty much, Redondo. That's why no one cares about him. Johnny, haven't been on one of those streams in a while. What's new? Not really much besides the K04 and the Mk4 Outlander that we're going to be ready to start playing around with. Ramon Diaz, a 2004 what? Mk4 Audi. What are we talking about, Ramon? Banging exactly 2.7T timing is ridiculous. Tiny, did I see the TT seats? Yeah, I saw those seats for sale. What's funny, at the junkyards in down in San Diego, four. Okay, I'm telling you this right now. 4 of them. 4 super clean Mark IVs with the cleanest black leather interior I've ever seen, ever, in a junkyard. And they were complete, front and back, but I didn't care for it. I didn't need it. You know. Ramon Diaz, if you want to make your Mark IV all-wheel drive, how much money do you want to spend, Ramon Diaz? Put it that way. How much money... Put it this way. How much money do you think it would cost to make a Mark IV all-wheel drive? Come on, Ramon Diaz, answer the question. How much do you think it would cost? Nacy, no, I'm not gonna waste that kind of money to make a car all-wheel drive. Just so you know, but I'm waiting for Ramon Diaz. That's the better answer, Tiny. But I'm waiting for Ramon Diaz, so don't comment, guys. $3 and a taco. Okay, so let me enlighten you on the concept of all-wheel drive conversions on non-all-wheel drive cars. Well, before you guys comment, let me explain it to Ramon. 5,000 if $5,000 if you do all the fabrication work yourself. Okay? And that means all the welding, finding that whole entire rear end. You gotta remember, so if you look at your car, the back half of the all-wheel drive car has to be cut out, and then you have to weld that into the non-all-wheel drive car and convert and do some witchcraft. And then you got to find the transmission that mounts to that all-wheel drive drivetrain, because you can't use a front-wheel drive system anymore. You have to use like an R32 transmission. Then obviously you're going to need if you're going to use a 1.8T, you can bolt it on. It's fine. 1.8T will work. By the time you're done and converted it, you could have just bought an R32 and pulled and just do that. But you wanted it in a Jetta. So the cool thing is, now don't discourage, okay, Ramon? I'm just trying to give you the realistic term here. People have done it. Don't get me wrong. People have done front-wheel drive conversions. Now, the reason why people have done it is because, number one, they got a wrecked R32, okay? And that's how they got around doing that, because a wrecked one, I mean, if you can find a wrecked R32 that has a complete rear end, do it. I mean, I personally would do it, but by the time, like I said, if you don't get that stuff, you just don't even bother. You know, it's so much work for all-wheel drive. Just go buy a cheap all-wheel drive Audi and just have fun with that. I mean, But I mean, if you're trying to look for the uniqueness in the car, then by all means do it. I highly recommend doing it. Um, it's it's dope. Exactly for Tiny, or import a Bora R. Um, what's funny, you can actually bring the Bora R to the States. Just don't import it. Don't and just tear it apart and then just move it into another Jetta and make it legal. I mean, it'd be even more legal. You can actually import the car without an engine, I believe. Yeah, exactly. Armor. Yeah, believe me, I would buy a Bora R all day. And all we have to do is wait probably another 7 years, and we can actually get them. We can actually import them into the States because they'll be almost 25 years old. So that might be something for future thoughts. Um, After doing all that work, what would the car be worth? It actually would be worth some money. Actually, it'd be worth a decent amount of money if the job is done legitimately. That's what you have to understand. You can't just slap a bunch of two cars together and assume it's going to make you money. No, if you do it right, tastefully, do the interior right, do your whole body paint and all that, you can have yourself an easy $10,000-$12,000 car, easy, you know. But again, you have to source your parts right. You got to make sure you get your parts cheap enough to make it worth it. If not, don't bother. Honestly, just don't bother. It's dope. Don't get me wrong. It's definitely dope, but I just don't recommend it. Now, for a lot of you guys who just started tuning in, thank you for tuning in. Welcome to Pinchal's Garage. We're doing actually a kind of a two type video today. What it is that we're talking about the Mk4 Outlander, and we're talking about the just random stuff we just talk about. 2004, I can bring me over a 4Motion wagon and a VR into one. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Just YOLO duct tape and gum. I love it. Yeah, no. And what's funny, MCM didn't even do most of the work. They had a shop do all the work for them. Remember that, Tiny? Marty Car Mods, pretty much they started becoming. I love the guys. They're super awesome. They're hilarious. But Mighty Car Mods became the channel for the people to just a comedy host guys who don't do as much work as they used to. They have shops help them do the work. Don't get me wrong, it's awesome supporting your local businesses, but they were the guys that I watched because they did the stuff themselves and they would just get advice from other people. And I loved them for that. And then they just turned into a bunch of. They started making money, man, and they turned into like a scripted show almost. It's kind of sad, I love those guys and they make good stuff. Yeah, that's right, Donnie. 15 years, but we get 25. It's lame. But for everybody else tuning in, thank you for tuning in. What you see here on the left is my part list that I used to build a lifted Mark IV Jetta, aka the Outlander. And what you see, the two most important things on this part list for you guys tuning in, exactly, the Yaris, I agree. The two most important things is the 2000 Jeep Grand Cherokee's #1, the front springs off of that. Make sure there's no lift. Those springs are needed to lift the front of your car 2 inches to almost 2.5 actually. For you, Rodondo, if you got the balls to do it, I would recommend it. Always replace your bushings whenever you can. But the rear beam bushings are not for the faint of heart on a Mark IV. Those require some decent amount of work, but I would recommend them. Definitely. Three Bowman. The Outlander is not getting LSD. That is not in the budget. This is a stock 1.9 liter diesel. Nope. They ain't gonna get none of that love. This is all supposed to be just as cheap as possible. Man, putting an LSD puts us way over budget. The cool thing though is that the Outlander is definitely getting a lot of love. Welded. Just weld that diff. I would, but that would be horrible for driving normally on the road. Oh man. Or front wheel drive welded diff. I just can only imagine just how bad that would be. Nah, I'm cool. For Tiny, yes. If you're trying to just... But see, one thing about the centering plates, there's two ways you can go about it, alright, Tiny? You can buy centering plates, which will obviously center your wheel. But what happens when you buy centering plates, it centers the wheel, but when you air out, you actually sit higher. Okay? You actually sit higher. So the better option is to get drop plates that center your tires and actually drop you even more. So that's one thing. But I don't know if they do that for Mark 3s. Mark 4s, that's what I got, you know? What's funny is like we go to Dickies all the time, so we keep the cups because they're awesome water cups because they're so huge, you know. Exactly, Austin. It's a no-go. I'm not gonna weld that. That's ridiculous. It'll never work. It's a way different style diff than a normal rear-wheel drive diff. That's why I'm laughing. But again, yes, we're gonna send this car to the moon. You don't understand. My goal is to send the crap out of this the moment we started going. What's funny, once I got the car on the ground and I got the brakes all taken care of, I actually went over to the side lot by my house. There's actually a little tiny dirt lot with a bunch of bumps. Dude, the car took it like a champ. With stock tires. Oh, it was so funny. I took my friend Jacob and we were just like, and it didn't even care. Did not even care. I was so proud of that little Mark IV. So, and it does some pretty decent little burnouts. I'll tell you that. For a little diesel, it's impressive. Super, super impressive. That I'm happy with the car, especially for $600 technically that we paid for this car, and it's doing so well already. The next thing we're doing is actually the next thing on the part list, tires and motor mounts. The motor mounts are completely effed in this car. I mean, when I mean effed, I mean when you turn the car on, I can see the whole engine just go. The dog bone has no purpose in this car whatsoever. It's so bad, so bad. Swap when you leave. No, we're not gonna deal with it. Banging. We're not welding the diff. Sorry. But yeah, the car drove great. I was super impressed on how well this car is actually performing for how little money we've spent on it already. If I open up my little spreadsheet, I mean, like again, why even bother bringing my spreadsheet up? But again, at our current amount, yeah, the diesel is they're torquey as hell, man. But at our current pace, the Mk4 Outlander should be done by March. Like, all done. Like, the custom bumper that we're going to build for it, the skid plates that we're going to build for it for the front and rear, the light bars for the top and bottom, and all the tires and the fender flares and all the stickers. Our goal is to have that done by March because there's an actual VW off-road get-together in March and then the Gambler 500 in June. So Redondo, you're gonna replace the motor mats. Awesome. Um, are you only getting parts from the junkyard for 3 Bowman? Well, what sucks here in San Diego, and this is one thing I hate about San Diego with a passion, or California in general, junkyards, I kid you not, are charging almost retail price for some of these parts. I went to go buy a piece of plastic, the intercooler, the charge pipe for that for the TDI. They wanted $50. It was $15 more online, brand new. I was like, hell no! I stole it. You didn't hear that from me. I mean, I found it and it ended up in my bag. You know. Austin, wherever you're commenting, yeah, we're gonna do that. It is gonna be something we're gonna do. I'm just waiting to figure out how to go around that in California. Just so you know, there's a lot of we got to be very careful with that. But yes, it is something we want to do here in California. I want to do it, but I got to figure it out so I don't get in trouble. You know. For Tiny, yes, there was a ton of good finds, but nothing I could afford out of my pocket, unfortunately. Johnny, do I think 20th anniversaries are worth their money, what they go for currently? Well, it depends. Condition, and miles matter. You tell me. Exactly. I find stuff all the time. Sometimes I try to buy stuff. I honestly do because it's big stuff. But this time I was like, hell no, I'm not paying $50 for a piece of plastic. I'm sorry. I figured out how to get it out of there. Exactly. 3 Bowman. Anything Mark III? No. There was actually not a single Mark III there. There was actually a clean Mark II, but it was already gutted, which sucked because I actually would have bought something off of it. But no Mark IIIs, actually, believe me or not. A speed sensor? Let me see what I can get them for you at my place. Tiny. So, again, with the Mk4 Outlander, we're going to get back a little bit. Go back a little bit on what we were talking about. So, the two things that matter the most for your lift kit are the springs. 100%. I'm just telling you that, guys, right now. However, if you look down there, there's a vehicle for the 99 Ford truck, half-ton, 4-wheel drive. That's extremely, very, very, very important. You need to get the rear shock out of that car, okay? Or that truck. Because if you don't, it will not mount into the rear shock assembly. What's dope, that shock fits perfect, even in the factory Mark IV strut tower, except for one thing. You need like a little 1/4-inch spacer on top so you can put pressure onto the actual strut tower. If not, your nuts won't go all the way down, unfortunately. Or just get an oversized nut and put it over the strut and then thread everything down. That's another way you can go about it, just so you guys know. Again, there's a whole DIY on this, on how to use all these parts. So we're going to show you how to do all that coming soon next week. I just got to finish doing all the other work so you guys can see the whole car put together correctly for the DIY. That's why I've been lagging on that portion. Okay, guys? Yeah, Johnny, $2,000 for a shell seems extremely expensive for a 20th. I wouldn't pay that. I would not pay $2,000 for a Mark IV shell. No. We I don't know about you, Austin. I don't. By the way, that's how I was able to install the rear shock without a single problem. It came out pretty good. Yeah, we doing some research online for the tires. It's pretty crazy what you can fit on these cars. But we're going to put a 215 75 15. 75 freaking sidewalls, a pretty big tire. And we're going to order those. I'll send you one of those turbos. You just got to pay for it. If you want that Garrett, I have that Garrett journal bearing turbo. Brand new. Never been mounted or used. I'll give you that to you for $500, man. It's just chilling there for right now. It has no use at the moment. Not for a while. But if you want a legit turbo, $500 will get you a super legit turbo. Exactly, Bowman. I won't even pay $2,000 for a working Mk4, and I didn't. I paid $650 for a TDI, by the way. Yeah, that's still a lot of... I mean, depends on how the shave bay was done. Number one, I would definitely inspect that shave bay and see if it's not 90% Bondo. If that thing is like all Bondo, the heck with that. I would not pay $2,000. But if it's super clean and like legit, I'd pay $2K for a shave bay, super clean body. That's like that. But if not, no. All right, so I'm gonna have to cut this live view short. I do have to head out. They need me. So again, have you guys a wonderful night. And as always, here at Pinchal's Garage, please, 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 we're gonna break, fix, repeat. And as always, if you see a fellow dubber on the road, give him a thumbs up. Peace, something. Respect one another. Love one another. Again, peace out. And have a wonderful night, all right? Wife needs me.